Hello everyone. After rewatching the Doomsday Machine episode from the original Star Trek, it got me wondering what would happen if the Doomsday Machine went against the Death Star from Star Wars. For any individuals who are not familiar with the episode or the vessel, let me give you a little background about the Doomsday Machine. We first encountered the Doomsday Machine in Season 2, Episode 3 of the original Star Trek series. To loosely quote James T. Kirk, the machine was from another universe and was created to be a bluff and never to be used. It's so strong it can destroy both sides in a war. The Doomsday Machine, or the Planet Killer, is a weapon designed to smash planets into debris and then consume the debris into fuel. As long as the Planet Killer can consume planets, it will never run out of power or be destroyed since it can self-repair, unless you attack the mouth of the machine. As usual, we'll look at both of these devices separately, and then analyze the different scenarios to find out which one of these weapons would have the highest chance of winning. We'll first be looking at the Death Star. Of course, we'll be analyzing the original Death Star, and not the second Death Star shown to us in The Return of the Jedi. The original Death Star was the size of a moon, at a width of 160 kilometers. The Death Star's primary weapon is a super laser, which can be hard to maneuver and it takes time for it to recharge, so it needs other armaments to help defend itself from outside threats. They have multiple secondary weapons, which are 12,000 XX9 heavy turbo laser batteries, 15,000 turret-mounted twin light turbo laser batteries, 10,000 super blasters, 920 laser cannons, 10,000 light ion cannons, 20,000 turret-mounted point defense concussion missile launchers, 50,000 turret-mounted twin heavy laser cannons, 50,000 turret-mounted quad laser cannons, and 1,000 heavy tractor beam projectors. It's also complemented with 7,000 starfighters, 3,600 shuttles, 2,800 AT series walkers, and 1,860 landing crafts. Whew, it's crazy how much firepower the Death Star has. On top of that, the Death Star also has a Class 4 hyperdrive, which is one of the slower hyperdrives out there, which is not surprising due to the vast energy it requires to get a vessel like the Death Star into hyperspace. When we analyze the range of the weapons, the super laser is the only weapon that was designed for long range, while the other armaments were built for short range combat. The downfall for this design is that enemy fighters that are highly maneuverable like the X-Wing can avoid the Death Star defenses and forcing them to rely on their fighters for protection. For the Doomsday Machine, the hull is made up of pure neutronium, which makes the vessel completely invulnerable to attacks. In the front of the machine, it can fire a pure anti-proton beam, which is not as powerful as the super laser on the Death Star. We were able to come to this conclusion after rewatching the Doomsday Machine episode, where the Enterprise in the USS Constellation was able to take a direct hit from the anti-proton beam and not get completely destroyed. This weapon/ship also has a tractor beam, a dampening field, and it's also capable of going warp. According to canon sources, the machine is ran by artificial intelligence, and it has very strict programming not allowing the vessel to venture off course unless under attack. In non-canon sources, the machine has a pilot, which merges with the vessel and serves as its soul or its guiding force. The main purpose of the Doomsday Machine's beam is to tear apart planets. Once the planet is destroyed, it devours the debris into energy. We will have two scenarios. The first one will have the Doomsday Machine be the aggressor, and then the next scenario will be the Death Star's turn. To make both of these scenarios fair, neither of these forces have encountered each other before, and they won't have any backup. And of course there won't be any force-wielding commanders on the Death Star, such as Darth Vader. The question is, will the Death Star try to use its super laser once the Doomsday Machine drops out of warp? Granted, the Death Star will have to maneuver itself at an angle to properly aim the super laser at the machine, but I don't think the commanders will consider the machine a threat. In Star Wars 4: A New Hope, the commanders of the Death Star had extreme confidence in its power, and due to that factor, they wouldn't consider the Doomsday Machine a threat since it's only 2,772 meters long. A normal destroyer in the Star Wars universe is around the same size as the machine, while capital ships such as the Super Star Destroyer would be 7 times bigger. I even doubt that the commanders of the Death Star would even register the factor that the hull of the machine is made of pure neutronium, which would stop most energy attacks. Due to their ignorance, they would launch fighters first to intercept the machine, and it wouldn't take long for the vessel to completely obliterate the fighters and consume them for energy. Once the machine gets into range, the Death Star will unleash its cannons, which will have no effect against the Doomsday Machine. The machine will slowly destroy the Death Star's shields, and then carve out pieces of the hull and consume it for energy. This will lead to the end and the destruction of the Death Star. If the Death Star was the aggressor, then there's a higher chance of them destroying the Doomsday Machine, since the Death Star will have time to angle the super laser at the machine. Now this leaves us with the big question: can the super laser damage a hull made up of pure neutronium? In the Star Trek universe, we saw that energy weapons have no effect to the vessel's hull. In my opinion, it would cause enough damage to have the Doomsday Machine retreat, but it will eventually return and attack at a different angle, where the Death Star will not be able to shoot a super laser. Again, the Doomsday Machine will destroy its shields and tear apart the Death Star. Due to the machine's hull, it makes it really hard for this vessel to be destroyed. The most effective way to destroy the Doomsday Machine is by causing a huge explosion at the mouth of the vessel. If the Death Star self-destructs or gets a direct shot into the mouth of the machine, in my opinion it would destroy the vessel. I doubt that the commanders of the Death Star will have the intelligence to come up with this plan of attack before the Doomsday Machine destroys them. After the destruction of the Death Star, the Empire will start to panic. The Doomsday Machine would start to head towards the core planets. A good portion of the planets and the fleets would be destroyed before the Empire would be able to regroup. Eventually they will be able to come up with enough information about the machine to come up with the proper tactic to destroy it. Once the machine is destroyed, it would leave the Empire weak for a while. But over time, the information and technology they were able to gather from the vessel would leave the Empire in a more powerful position than they were before. What's your thoughts on what would happen if the Doomsday Machine went against the Death Star? Do you think the Doomsday Machine would win or the Death Star? I'm curious to read your thoughts in the comment section below. Also, what vessel or weapons do you want me to compare next? Before I go, I'm curious to read your thoughts about the new Star Trek series called Strange New Worlds. I'm personally excited to get back to classic Star Trek episodes and have an episodic format again. Based on the poll I had on my channel, it seems like my viewers are split, but I guess we'll find out on May 5th. If you enjoyed this video, then please like and subscribe. It will also be much appreciated if you follow me on my socials as well. If you enjoyed this video, then you might enjoy these two other videos displayed on the screen. Thank you for watching Utopian Broadcast, and I'll see you next time on my channel. Thank you.